everyone. Yang Berhormat, my good friend Dato Sri Sabri Chik, Minister of Communications and Multimedia. Yang berbahagia Dato Sri Dr. Sarifah, Secretary General of KKM. Yang bahagia Dato Haji Abu Bakar, Director General Broadcasting RTM. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really happy to be here at such a wonderful opportunity to share what we're doing. Dato Sri Sabri Chik and I had a conversation about how best to communicate the message. We have been on the transformation journey now for, I think, 5 years and 9 months since Dato Sri Najib took over and he began to launch the program. We thought maybe the way to do it today is to imagine we step into the shoes of the critical people who are very critical of what we're doing, and then ask the question, the tough question from their standpoint. What are their criticism of what we're doing? And then we deal with the question, how do we respond to them? Let me first talk about the theory dulu. The theory for transformation is about change from a current reality to a new reality. So when you want to move from a current reality to a new reality, you don't want to change something that you like. You only want to change to something that you prefer it to be. So it means you're going to shift from there to there. But when you do that, a change process will encounter resistance. There are people that are going to resist it. So in the theory, in stage 1 for the theory, at the orientation phase, this is what the resistance will say. The critical people will say, oh, the government, we don't think they have the political will, nor the leadership to carry on and do this. So that's the criticism. When we start implementing the transformation process, the next thing that they will say is, okay, maybe they can do it for 1 year, but they don't have the stamina to carry on doing it for 2 years, for 3 years. It will go away after 1 year. So when we start delivering the results, the criticism will be, we like some of the results, but we don't believe the results. The data must be wrong. Tak betul punya. Then the other thing that they will say is, we do not like some of the things that you do. For example, GST. We don't like that. We don't like the rationalization of subsidies. So these are the realm of resistance. So what I'm going to do today, and to share a little bit about an experience I had at Harvard. I was invited to give a talk 2 weeks ago at Harvard University, which is the Kennedy School, and I gave 5 presentations at Harvard. And a professor before me spoke about transformational leadership. And he said, transformation leadership is about disappointing people at the rate they will permit you to. It is about disappointing people at the rate they'll permit you to. In this chart that you can see, there is a circle. It's called the scope of expectation from the Rakyat. So the Rakyat wants you to do everything within that circle. The Rakyat does not want you to do anything outside that circle, because those are popular things. Those are nice things. But some things outside the circle may be the right things to do, but they're unpopular things. So what do you do as a transformational leader, according to Marty Linsky? You have to do some things that are popular. When you do many of those dots, as you say, the popular things on the chart, it gives you the license then to do some things that are outside the circle. So transformational leadership is about dancing on the edge, not operating entirely within the circle. Why? Because if you operate within the circle, you're not going to change the current reality into a new reality, because you have to shift it gradually by moving and changing the boundary. So that is the theory behind transformational leadership. So really, when you talk about transformational leadership, there will be no gain without pain. You will go through some changes, there will be some resistance. Let me now take you through one by one the criticism that we receive from the public and how do we respond to them. The first criticism, we do not believe that the transformation that you guys talk about in the process have any ownership accountability and transparency. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, this chart shows the 8-step process that Dato Sri Sabri Chik described earlier on, is showing that our process has transparency, it has accountability, and it also have clear ownership. The ownership begins with strategic direction workshop, step 1. We have cabinet workshop from the Prime Minister, the DPM, the cabinet ministers. We sit together for solid 1 day to discuss what are the key things and the key priorities of this country. They take this full ownership. So when we talk about ETP and GTP, it is owned collectively by the cabinet. They take ownership. Then we run the labs. In the labs, we get the various ministries involved. We get their ownership as well. So if it is various ministries, all of the staff are inside there, private sectors involved. So we get solid ownership of people. Number 3, open day. Kita buat open day, we get the public to come there. Then we get the ownership from public too, because they are participating in it. They give us their input, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. It's also there. So we get a full ownership from the top to the bottom. Now, transparency. We have a roadmap. We published a roadmap. You know, the ETP, it is 601 pages to the hardworking and avid Malaysian readers. How many of you have read the document in full? We know lah. The problem is Malaysians do not read. Because we know that there are not many Malaysians that read it, we have written an executive summary for the lazy Malaysian, 35 pages only. Adakah baca itu? Some have read it. For those who are very, very lazy, we have also put up a 6-minute video. Tak boleh baca pun, boleh juga. Just watch the video. That also the Malaysians don't watch. So, but the point is, we are transparent about it. It tells you exactly what the government is committed to do, precisely in detail. Why do we publish a document so detailed? Because when you publish the document with such detail, you make the government totally pregnant. You know when you're pregnant, the only thing you have to do if you're pregnant is you have to deliver. So now the government have told the public, this is what we promised to do in detail. We have no choice but to deliver. Kita sudah jadi pregnant lah. Kita sudah mengandung terlalu besar. So we got no choice but to have to deliver. Then, we then give every beginning of the year, every minister receive KPIs from our Prime Minister. Including our DPM, dia ada KPI juga, targets, semua ada. And so this KPI is giving the ownership and accountability to all the ministers. Every 6 months, we have an assessment by the Prime Minister so that the ministers are assessed. They are given scores, each one of them. And then we also list down what they have achieved, what they haven't achieved. By the way, when we have this cabinet assessment by the Prime Minister, there are only 3 people in the room. The Prime Minister, the Minister concerned, and myself lah. And why we don't allow anyone else? Because we want the Minister to take full ownership. He must know exactly what happened in his or her ministry. Cannot bring the KSU to explain it. The Minister must know in detail exactly what's happening. Must account for it because it's about ownership. Then the implementation. We have steering committee meeting led by the Minister and the KSU, everyone that's involved. We do this every month. In fact, the GTP is held. The guy who runs that is our DPM. DPM chairs all of the NKRA's meeting. And that is rigorous that we go through it, including the lead minister, so full of accountability. Number 7, we also make sure that the results, memang betulnya, we get PricewaterhouseCoopers to go and audit it and validate the numbers. If it is not correct, they will change it. And so we have also an international panel, including people from IMF, from World Bank, and the guy who used to do my job in Tony Blair's outfit in the UK, he's also in the panel. So they validate this. Then we do an annual report that we release out to the public every year that gives the full score about what we have achieved, including what we have not achieved. So what we have achieved is marked red. Sorry, what we have achieved is marked green, so check whether you're still awake. If they haven't achieved it, it's marked red. If it's partially achieved, it's yellow. And all the lead ministers, they are the marker. So if you want to know the score of your minister last year, you go to the Pemandu website, you memang tahu dia punya score. I believe we're the only government in the world that is so transparent, so accountable. No government in the world produce an 8-step process and put it out in the public like this. That is why I say, criticism that said that we are not accountable, we don't have ownership, we're not transparent, that is a very unfair criticism. In fact, when I share our methodology with a very senior minister in the Singapore government, you know what he told me? Wow, Idris, you guys in Malaysia are so transparent. You know, there's a fine distinction between transparency, nudity, and pornography. Because we have become terlampau transparent. But that is the point. Under our Prime Minister, we have put in a methodology that calls us to really be accountable.